Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial-free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 011111911.
Loans we're talking about. Starbucks is going back to writing names on the cups again. I didn't know that they had gone away from this because I don't go that often. But I've been there, and they've spelled my name wrong. They spelled it with a G once.
Lots of different changes going on at Starbucks. I've heard that they're not going to allow people to just come in and use the restroom anymore. They're going. They say you have to buy something in order to use the restroom. And a third thing I saw, and it didn't really go into detail. Like I don't know if this like summons an enforcement officer or like a manager, and then they give you advice on what to do. But they're installing in some of their locations for the staff panic buttons underneath the counter in which they're working at. And, and these panic, you know what these panic buttons are for?
I would think it's to call the police
if they're getting like robbed or something like that, right?
Right.
No, it's if people are just coming in and using the Wi-Fi, like the laptop, like they're on their laptop for like hours on end, and they don't buy something, or if they buy like one coffee and they're there for like 4 hours, they're instructed to hit the panic button. Now, I don't know what the panic button who it locates, like the laptop police or what the deal is, but there is a panic button. That's what many of the employees have confirmed in various locations across the United States. Yes, we have.
I'm going to have to ask now. I'm going to ask the next time I go through drive through. Like,
I don't think
you have a panic button.
Well, see, that's the problem. The drive-through person's not going to care. He's like, I don't know. You got to go ask the person working the front lines.
He's like, well, they all rotate. He's like, yeah, there's one over there. I go, is it? What is? I heard that's just to turn off the Wi-Fi. Is that true?
Maybe that's what it does. It sends a shock.
Yeah, but then it shuts everybody's Wi-Fi off. And, what about the person that's been there? And, the other thing I heard they're doing is, okay, so no public bathrooms, no loitering, meaning you can't just come in and have a meeting or, hang out and surf the web and drink their free water. You have to buy something. But if you buy coffee, they'll refill it like you're at a cafe or a
You know who this is great news for?
Come around and they'll top off your coffee for you.
This is great news for the 17 different places that I've seen around the Central Coast that are known as co-working areas. And they're these big buildings, and they're completely empty all the time. And it says co-working space. And I'm like, what is that for? I've never seen anybody in there. And it's just a bunch of desks in a room. And that's where people can go and co-work, have meetings, I guess. But nobody's using them.
You must have to pay for these spaces.
I don't know. I'm sure you do. Yeah. I mean, why? They got to make money somehow, but they're not because they're empty, completely empty. Like just rooms full of desks. I don't know what co-working is. I feel like they get some kind of government money or something. I don't know. Like, oh, we provide a co-working space. Oh, okay. Here's a kickback.
Kyle, who only fishes stock ponds, writes in on the 805 Beer text lines, and I think he might be onto something. I don't know if he's 100% right, but he says they spell the names wrong on purpose. I think they do that, and I think they do that to get people talking about them. Because if they spelled your name right, nobody would talk about Starbucks. But everybody, they can't spell anything right.
Well, I think it's fun because...
My wife's name is Charlene. It's been spelled with a CH, I think, for eternity.
Right.
They spell it SH, like they're...
But you do this
literally didn't
all
pass
the time.
Fourth grade.
You would have been a good Starbucks worker because you just spell people's name how you think it sounds. And maybe that's how they're doing it. It's fun for them.
I'll say it's fair that I misspell names, but I usually only miss it by a letter. It's not like I misspell Jeff and I would spell it GEOFF like they do in Canada.
Some people would probably spell that like that, especially a Starbucks worker.
Geoff.
It's interesting. Have you ever been offended if they've misspelled your name at Starbucks? Like, has anybody? I know that you don't like to be called Jeremy. It goes back.
No, I don't care.
It goes back to like
when I was 10. It bothered me. It doesn't.
Second grade. first go round of second grade.
It's because kids are dumb. They can't say Jeremy. They can't pronounce a 3-syllable word very easy. So it was Jeremy. And it's like, well, it's not even how my name is spelled. So try again. See, I just went right back there. You should be a therapist. I swear to God, this was great. I feel so much better. Boy, you took me right back.
But man, think of all the revenge you could get if you worked at Starbucks, Jeremy. Or Jeremy.
Somebody just wrote it and said my 4th grade best friend's mom's name was Charlene, spelled S-H. That's a lie.
No, I think
there's a lie.
No, I think there's lots of different ways you could spell that name. I saw the strangest. Oh, it was Shirley. The name was spelled Shirley. And this is how it was spelled, okay? ShyRleigh. I'm like,
that is somebody's.
Wait, hold on a second. Like, were they
very bored or
no,
smoked way too much pot?
Scramble enthusiasts, right there. Like, we got to get the most points for this name.
Have Billy Corgan sitting there during
that is pretty funny, actually.
That interview.
That's very funny. Like, did he bamboozle him? Did he say?
It must be a bamboozle. And Bill Burr, the comedian, is not very happy about it. He was on the.
Oh God!
Rich Eisen's show.
Okay.
Which
Roku?
is a TV/radio/podcast/
Roku show.
Talk show.
It's on Roku too. It's promoted. It's promoted widely on Roku.
Is he bigger than Dan Patrick now?
No.
The Rich Eisen show. I feel like you can get it more places. I don't even know where you get
about this. Probably about the same.
Is Dan Patrick still on TV?
I think both of them are like, just riding it out. It's not like they're not.
I don't know Dan Patrick. We've interviewed Rich Eisen a couple times. He was the nicest guy.
Rich Eisen's awesome.
Really cool guy. Anyways, so he brings people on and he.
And I think they're both friends, so they're probably.
And I think you don't think Bill Burr's a funny comedian though. He's pretty funny. I just watched one of his.
It's over the top, a lot of anger, and I don't know how much of it is genuine, but more on that in just a bit.
Well, he talks a lot about his kids, and so I figured you'd like him. But anyways, here
Burr
he
does?
is on the Rich Eisen show. Yeah,
the one stand-up I saw. The thing that Bill Burr is famous for is flying off the handle at one of his shows and going into a profanity-laced tirade.
I didn't see that.
And that was years and years ago. And he was friends with the disc jockeys that would always get in trouble all the time. I forget their name.
The Opie and Anthony guys?
Yeah.
The Sex and
so
the Church thing?
So he got a lot of free pub from the popularity of their show.
But anyways, he's on the Rich Eisen show, and they're talking about when Howie Mandel brought on Billy Corgan.
It was funny.
Howie did what he did because he is a Hollywood whore, and he doesn't care what happens. He could have said something, and he just brings up all that weirdness. Howie, so he's like sort of hard to hate. How do you like hate a germaphobe? He's like not threatening. He just walks with his arms in so he doesn't rub against curtains that he owns. That's the weirdest thing about him. He's a strange man.
I would agree with all of that.
Howie Mandel told the funniest joke I've ever heard in the stand-up. And that was, he was making fun of the fact that he's a germaphobe. But his favorite thing to do when he goes into a bathroom is to take a chocolate bar and make sure it's in the wrapper and then put it in his pocket and wait about 30 minutes and then go into a bathroom stall and make sure that they're joining bathroom stalls and then take the chocolate bar out of his pocket, rub it in his hand, and wait for somebody to go into the stall next to him and reach underneath and say, "Hey, man, I ran out of toilet paper over here. Can you spare some?"
Yeah, that's very childish. I mean, it was funny the first time you told me. I mean, I've known about this joke for a long time. This is your favorite joke.
That is a great practical joke.
It's been redone. It's
been redone. What are you talking about?
Oh, I've seen it on other TV specials. Yeah, people are I guess they're stealing his joke now. Or it was in a TV show or a movie
it was
or something.
Yeah, he's probably made some money off of that. He's licensed it. He's not a dumb he's not a dumb comedian. Like he knows how to monetize his stuff. Like he's a judge on America's Got Talent. Come on. I mean, you're talking about probably
anybody can do that job.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But to get the job has got to be tough because anybody can do it, right? He's got a good agent.
To keep the job is what's touch.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's kept the job.
Exactly. I don't either. Because
the most worthless one on the panel.
Like seriously, like there are other comedians. Like if you need a comedian on the panel, like you go to him. I mean, like out of all the comedians out there in the world, you don't have a rotating seat there, like the hottest, like a couple years ago would have been Maniscalco, and then now it would be Bergazzi, I mean, like, you would have a rotating seat.
I just feel like these comedians, when you put them in that position, it's forced. Everything feels forced coming from them. You got Simon over there who's very natural at it. He's great. And then you got Heidi Klum, who just kind of comes off as a ditz.
Well,
and then you got some other ditz that sit next to her. And then you got the guy that's trying to force the humor and attention on him. Howie Mandel.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he's that great on America's Got Talent, but he's kept the job forever. Yes, so good for him. Good for him. He's a smart guy when it comes to that. It's funny that Bill Burr is saying that Howie Mandel is Hollywood's whore for what he did. Because does Hollywood care about Billy Corgan or Howie Mandel or Bill Burr? Well, according to Matt Walsh, the guy that did the movie Am I a Racist? That guy?
Yes. I've not seen it, but it's on my list.
So Bill Burr was on Jimmy Kimmel after the fires, and he was saying to everybody that said it was the government's fault for mismanagement, that, basically they're wrong. There's nothing they could do to stop that, which I do believe there is an element of truth to that. It's not black or white with the wildfires. I think, they came really quick. There was nothing you could do. But also, if they didn't have as much fuel, they probably wouldn't have done as much damage.
And if they would have had some water, maybe they would have spared a few homes, maybe hundreds. You don't know.
This is Matt Walsh's response to Bill Burr on Jimmy Kimmel, who was basically just, notified by the L.A. mayor's office and Gavin Newsom's office to go on Jimmy Kimmel and say something nice.
Bill Burr's downfall is even more tragic than Howard Stern. I mean, Howard Stern was always a freak, as we've discussed before. The guy was always just a disgusting creep. But Burr, at one point, had genuine talent. He wasn't going for the lowest common denominator, and he certainly wasn't running interference for some of the most incompetent politicians in the country, people who destroyed their own city while getting a lot of people killed in the process solely because of his political affiliation. But that's what he's been reduced to. And whatever you blame for his downfall, whether it's his age, the influence of his leftist wife, which a lot of people have pointed to as kind of the beginning of the end of him actually being funny, or you point to his politics or whatever, or the fact that he started starring in, movies, and he was in Breaking Bad and these Hollywood things, and started hanging out with people in Hollywood and going to the cocktail parties. I mean, all that stuff probably is part of it. But the inevitable conclusion is that Bill Burr is no longer a comedian. He's like Howard Stern, Jimmy Kimmel, so many other former comedians like them. Now just a washed up political hack who's all too willing to read from a script.
Do you think that?
Oh wow!
Do you think that Bill Burr?
I agree about Howard Stern. Like that's like I don't know.
Do you think that Bill Burr is just deflecting because somebody called him a Hollywood whore, and now he's like, oh, well, I'll just call Howie a Hollywood whore?
No, I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about the situation. I recently saw him in stand up. He was like in a blue shirt and a huge, not a stadium, but like a theater. And it was a great show. I don't know much about his political life, but that's pretty funny.
No, you got go watch him on Jimmy Kimmel.
Feel free to call.
Go watch.
No, I won't watch Jimmy Kimmel.
But I love just watch what he said on Jimmy Kimmel, and you'll see exactly what Matt Walsh is talking about. Didn't understand what the floating holiday was. He's asking around the office, like, what do they mean by floating holiday? Mark, our sales manager, he takes his birthday off every year. And,
yes, he does,
and yeah. I always thought that was a bit strange. And
we've worked with other people that took off days for, I know we worked with Chiba. She was a gal that worked with us for years.
Anniversary and
out of the
birthday,
radio
though.
Station. And she would always take her anniversary off. It was 420. And they would sit around and probably just get hired a kite on 420 because her husband liked to do that. And then she took her birthday off too. Okay, I know she took her anniversary off.
Oh, so wait, that wasn't her birthday. I'm sorry. It was just anniversary and
it was her anniversary.
420.
They got married on 420. So she always took 420 off. So that could be your holiday. Well, maybe this is the answer to the day old, should the day after the Super Bowl be a holiday? For our company, if you're lucky enough in your company to have a floating holiday, you could use it there. But I was thinking about doing this because I've been a big proponent of the holiday Monday after the Super Bowl.
No, NFL needs to change. I know you got some comments here, but I have a different theory on this, and I think the NFL is rushing towards this, and it will be a reality in the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay, all right. And I'm okay with moving the Super Bowl as well, but Jason and Travis Kelce have a podcast, and they were talking about it. Of course, two guys that are in the NFL, or one that's in, one that's just retired, and their thoughts. And I kind of agree with Jason.
No, completely. It's out. 1 day out of the year. All right, one day.
The Super Bowl is meant to be played on Sunday.
Yeah.
If anything, we need to make Monday a holiday.
Yeah.
Just make Monday a holiday. The country should change what they're doing for the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl for the country.
Come on now, people.
Come on.
I don't know if I agree. I just don't know if I agree. Why does the Super Bowl have to be on a Sunday? I know it's always been on a Sunday.
Thank you.
But it could be on a Saturday.
I know, because they take the week off before. Yes.
You have 2 weeks to prepare.
Take the week off before. So you have lots of time. Lots of time. Like, you're talking about a league that will play games on Wednesday for money purposes after a team has played on a Sunday. During Christmas, we saw this with the Chiefs and the Texans, and who else played on the Wednesday on Christmas Day? There was 2 other teams that played on Christmas Day. They just played a game on Sunday, or I guess on Saturday prior, and then they played a game on Wednesday. During COVID, they were playing games every day of the week, because they had to squeeze them in. You're telling me that it's a big logistics nightmare to move the Super Bowl to Saturday and give us Sunday off? Saturday's more marquee anyways. But I think the way the NFL is going to finagle this is there is a proposal up to the owners, and the owners' meetings will take place, I guess, after the Super Bowl, to add another bye week to the season, which would then push the last week of the season a week later, which would then push everything else a week later, which would then make the Super Bowl take place. So if that were to happen this year, the Super Bowl
on President's Day weekend
would be taking place on President's Day weekend.
But not everybody gets President's Day off either.
And also, by the way, Valentine's Day weekend.
Who cares? It's such a made-up Hallmark holiday. But here's the thing. But we all know we have to do something, right, guys? We just have to. This is such a screwed holiday for men. That we'll get to that at another time, because all the pressure's on us. There's never any pressure on the ladies.
It's a lose-lose.
And if you say there is, ladies, you're wrong. Sorry, you're just wrong. But I mean, come on. Okay, I know most of the NFL games are played on Saturday, but how many playoff games are played on? I'm sorry, most NFL games are played on Sunday, but how many games are played on Saturday during the playoffs? Right?
No,
we have Thursday night football. We have Monday night football. It's not like Sunday is sacred. Like Sunday is sacred to God and church, unless you're a Lutheran. I think it's Saturday. But so be like the Lutherans. Move your game to Sunday.
So when Jason Kelce says, "Oh, well, the Super Bowl was meant to be on Sunday," there's no premise behind why you can't change that. It's just him saying, "Well, it's the Super Bowl was meant to be on." Well, what about all football if that's the case? Because they sure make a lot of money on Mondays and Thursdays from you guys.
Hey, thanks for everybody texting in about the song. Mike writes in from Santa Maria regarding the Super Bowl. He says, "Lazy American people think every day should be a holiday. Why are we not and never be great again?"
I'm with Mike on this one. I really am. I mean, he is so right on that.
NGBGA.
NGBGA? What's that mean?
Yeah, not and never be great again.
Oh,
make America, I think is what he's going with. Okay, well, listen, Mike, you work for yourself. You can go mow the grass whenever you want, right? People like to celebrate the Super Bowl.
I'm telling you.
And they like to indulge.
This is an easy solution.
And it's a worthless day when people show up hungover and tired or whatever. Maybe they don't drink, they're just tired.
This is not even something that needs to talk about.
You move it to Saturday. You move it to Saturday.
You can move it to Saturday, yes. Or the NFL needs to do something about their players getting injured, and an extra bye week would help out. Every team gets 2 bye weeks, and that pushes the season back another week in the order of things. And And then that way you're getting the best possible product when you get, or, you're helping get the best possible product when you get to the playoffs. And it's just a little bit later in the year. It pushes everything back a week, lines it on that President's Day weekend, and then everybody's going to be celebrating President's Day. President's Day is one of those ones where, like, some people go to work, some people don't go to work. But, man, if you put the Super Bowl on it, boom. There's nothing more American than that. NFL can go ahead and leverage some of that Americanism going on and get that going and pay tribute.
I don't like it. I'll tell you why I don't like it. I like to celebrate these two things, because separate them, and celebrate them.
Because you want an extra day off.
President's Day is a 3-day weekend. I want to maybe go do something. I want to go somewhere. I got a couple nights. I got an extra day, the weekend. I don't want to focus on making that my Super Bowl. I want Super Bowl is just Super Bowl. I don't need it to be crazy. I don't need to be anything. It's going to screw up my 3-day weekend is my point.
Would it lessen the importance of President's Day if Super Bowl Sunday fell on President's Day?
All I do is get up and think about presidents all day on that Monday.
That's funny. I think about mattresses and TVs. That's very strange.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to the podcast on Google, Apple, YouTube by clicking on Jeff and Jeremy at KZOC.com.
Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 01111 911.